All right, the next thing that we're going to try and do is build the mouth out just a little bit. And for this mouth, I'm just going to kind of block in this area using the Z Modeler brush. And so with the Z Modeler brush, if you click on the Z Modeler brush, which you can find in the brush palette through the Z Modeler, so if you type Z, and then you can see that it's right here in the Z Modeler. Okay, so to do this, I'm going to actually just I'm going to actually create some new polygroups. And to do so, if you hover over a face and then you actually hold down the space bar, you can actually make a new polygroup. And then I'm going to say a single poly. And then, so now when I click, also you want to make sure that activate symmetry is turned on, just in case it's not. So, and I could tell just by when I was hovering over that poly, I couldn't see that I was in symmetry mode. So, so now I'm gonna just create new poly group, and this is gonna basically be the mouth shape. And so next thing I'm going to do is actually I'm going to just Q mesh this poly group. I'm going to actually just take that poly group and push it into the back of his head. So to do so, I'm going to hover over a face, press the space bar, and then I'm going to say Q mesh, and I'll say poly group all. Okay, so what that's going to do is take that poly group and it's going to just Q mesh it all the way to the back. Okay, we're just pushing those polys back into his head just a little bit, just so we can get a mouth shape going. Obviously it's not going to be exactly what we want right now, but for now it'll work, and we'll just run with this for now, and we'll be reshaping the mouth and all that. This is just kind of just to block in that area, just to push that mouth cavity back to the back of his head a little bit. Okay, now with that mouth pushed back a little bit, I'm just going to take my move brush, and I'm just going to kind of, actually that's just a undo, and so I'm just actually pushing that shape out a little bit. I'm grabbing the inner polys and just kind of moving them, spreading them out just a little bit. And I'm also just making sure that I'm actually pushing those polys back, and you can see by that red dot that I'm on, that's where I'm actually making those adjustments. So it's not actually pushing anything right here. So you can see, like, if I make any adjustments there, so I'll just undo that. But you can see when I'm on, that red dot is on that poly, I can actually just move those, and I'm just lightly tapping just a little bit, just so you can see that there is some movement. Okay, I'm just making really slight movements. I'm not really pushing too far on some of those polys. And this is just basically just to kind of push those polygons back a little bit more than, and also spread them out just so there's a little bit nicer flow. When I pushed them back with Q mesh, it just kind of, it didn't really give me exactly what I was looking for. But this will basically, and then also I will probably push this mouth more into kind of a simple smile, and I will close it up just a little bit. Close his mouth just a little bit. And give that smile look. This is so when we get into remeshing this, we'll see. Actually, just kind of smoothing. Hold down the shift and smooth that area just a little bit as well. So this just kind of gives us a nice basis to work from. We have that mouth just kind of nice and pushed back there. I'll make sure that this shape is, the lip shape has a nice curve to it, and it's not flat. Just looking, just making sure those has a curve to the mouth shape. That mouth shape blocked in a little bit. We're going to move on to the next area, and we're going to actually just kind of shape his hair. Just kind of put the hair shape in so we can kind of see how that's working and how it's going to kind of mesh with the character. And so to do so, I'm going to actually create a new, I'm going to bring in a new subtool. And so to do so, I'm going to insert a subtool, and I'll probably just go with the Polysphere 1 for that. And so with that, once you bring in a new polysphere, which you can see where that polysphere is going to be probably located at the world. And since I was kind of zoomed in on his face, yeah, you can see that polysphere is really small. So I'm just going to scale that up. And then I'll move it up to his hair area, his head area. And scale that down. Kind of push this into place, into kind of the shape that we're going to be looking for. And right now it's not exactly what I'm looking for, but we'll push that thing right into shape how we want it. This is just kind of blocking in, just a nice block in. And I will also go over here and rename this to hair. Just keeping track of what we're actually working on here. All right, so I'm going to grab the move brush, and I'm actually make this move brush just a little bit bigger, but keep the Z intensity where it's at, just so we can kind of make these changes. So I'm kind of just putting a little bit of side to his. This is just basically kind of building out that shape. We're going to eventually use a hairbrush, which will kind of go over the top of this, but for now it's just kind of building out the shape. And again, just lightly tapping. This is just kind of like I'm trying to look for this shape on his hair. So it's just kind of basic, still in a blocking state. Doesn't need to be perfect. We're just actually just trying to create that shape that we see. I like to rotate around just to make sure that I'm looking at all the same, looking at all the angles. Look at from the front, see how that looks. It's got that curve. Bring that down a little bit. Like I said, we'll be using a hairbrush to kind of place on top of this, just so we can get a little bit nicer looking hair. And then from here, I'm also going to, with the IMM brush, I'm going to bring in another quad sphere 2, and I'll place that. I'm actually going to solo this, and then I'm going to basically place this. We're in a subdivision level for this one, so actually I'm going to just bump this down to 1, just so we're in the lowest subdivision. And then for this, actually go to the lowest subdivision and freeze those subdivision levels. Then from here, we'll grab a new sphere, put that new sphere in the scene. and then unsolo it, and then I'll also go back to my move brush, and then I'm actually going to scale that up just a little bit, not rotate. So just make sure we're on that. And then I'm actually just going to kind of pull this into place. This is going to be his sideburns and kind of the back of his hair. And you can kind of see with that, I just want to make sure that this is actually centered. And so to do so, we're just going to go, oops, wrong one. So it's actually centered. It should be centered to the world there. And then from there, I'm going to grab my move brush again and just make some adjustments. Just kind of shape out that hair. We got turned off on our symmetry, so I'm just going to undo. Just make sure that symmetry is turned on as we make this hair shape. Just kind of short hair, kind of rounded in the back. And for this, just pulling this out just a little bit, just for that nice shape. And we'll also, when we do this hair, we will go back in and shape with the hairbrush. This is just basically kind of blocking in that shape that we're looking for. And you can turn off the poly fill just to kind of look and see how we're still kind of in a low state. And then I'll also just kind of scale down, just kind of place his head. It's looking kind of what I'm looking for. So really early, still blocking.